Man, working. Working. Ah,
Yeah,
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Enjoying my vacation where I got it till Monday.
Hey, I heard that.
All right, Isla. Now, I am gonna get into your audio because I Jackie, bruh.
Jackie. I know.
Oh, I got wow. That's all I can say is wow. Okay, introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, what genre you write in, and then we'll get into it.
Um, I am Ayla Cox. I write romance. Right now, I have a series of contemporary romance books out. It is a trilogy. And that series revolves around a plus size bad bitch
Mm-hmm.
who is kind of readjusting her life after she realizes that she has pulled her focus too far into her job, and now she has to figure out what her life is going to look like outside of the life that she had with Curtis. Thank you, Sierra.
Well, Isla, what was the moment that you thought, because you say contemporary, that shit erotic than a motherfucker. Um, wait, what was the moment you thought this was the book that you wanted to be one of your first book series?
um, I don't think that they're really okay. So, long story short, I'm 35 and I have already had my midlife crisis. Um, so I had my midlife crisis last year. Hold on.
Just drink, drink. I encourage.
Whew, okay. So I had my midlife crisis last year.
Yeah.
Um, Essentially, I caught COVID and I ended up having to have surgery because one of my organs started acting silly.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like a complication from staying at the hospital. And I had a moment of like self reflection, and I had to like actually reckon with what would have been like my epitaph, what would have been on my obituary, right? They would have just been like funny, sweet, really nice, worked a lot. That's it. Right. And so I was like, okay, how am I going to change this? How am I going to fix all of this shit that I have kind of found myself in?
Mm-hmm.
And I, was working. I still work in corporate America, but at the time I was relatively new to corporate America. And so I kind of had to refine what my purpose was before I started to work when I was still in school. So
Mm-hmm.
I have I have an MFA in creative writing. I lived in London for 2.5 years, almost three. And then I moved back to LA in 2016, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I've lived so many lives. Like I've been a teacher, I've done video production, I've done script writing, I've done instructional design, I've been a UX designer. Like I've done so much,
Mm-hmm.
and like none of that was the work that fed my soul, you know?
Right. Right.
And so I kind of had to take a step back after all that crazy shit happened last year to kind of find which path I wanted to take forward. And so for me, I knew that there was something that I had to do. And so I was kind of looking through all of the like the graveyards of stuff that I had started and stopped throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I found Tempted. And I started Tempted on Bart after I had attended a work function. And I was surrounded by ludicrously rich people. And it was so fucking bizarre. Like, it's so hard to explain it to people who haven't been in that type of situation. But it's just like you're an alien in their world and you're watching them and you're just like, is this real life? Like, people who are loaded, like, tens of hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're like trying to rip teddy bear decorations off the wall, or they're like obsessed with the fact that they're going to get free C's candies when they could literally like pick up a $5 bill out of off the ground and be like, oh yeah, here's some money for some C's candy. Like, it's just so strange to me. And I really did see like some woman stuffing food into her Hermes, which I thought was fucking bonkers. We got some $30,000 purse. You're putting food in it? That's a choice. So that when I was rereading this thing that I started on Bart, I was like, I love my sci-fi. I love my fantasy. I love my epic fantasy, the hero's journey. I love all of that.
Yeah.
But this is really like its own little world, its own little separate part of the universe that a lot of people don't get to see. And I was like, I can still do all the stuff that I love to do about building worlds and like creating these universes, but I can also do it as like a little pocket over here and all this crazy stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And so I took that vein when I was writing Tempted. And so I think it was a good gateway drug for me because I shouldn't say that on here, huh? Gateway hallucinogen. We're gonna get in trouble already. And so it was a good like gateway for me to like get back into the swing of writing again because I was unemployed and I was trying to figure things out. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is literally like my friends still get mad at me when I say this, but I was like, I'm gonna, just throw a couple of novellas on the internet. I'm gonna throw them up on Amazon and I'm just gonna see what happens. And like, maybe I'll be able to buy a Subway sandwich one day. Like, I never really expected much, frankly. Yeah. And so when I started to kind of dive into creating Tempted, it was always intended to be like a standalone couple of little novellas. And then obviously that didn't really go to plan. But I think that's kind of like the biggest thing for me is it was like the place that I was in life. It was still close enough to some of the stuff that I had like direct experience with that I could emulate it a little bit. But I also turned it on its head and turned it completely into fiction. Which, if anybody asks me the question, did some of this happen in real life again? I swear I'm going to scream. Because you think I'm getting dicked down in the office?
Only to hope.
Only, I wish.
Now.
Yeah, so that's where Tempted came from. It was a long story, but that's.
Now, I just want to say, ma'am, you are nasty. You is nasty, nasty, nasty. Cause man, them sex scenes, ma'am, your imagination is. Cause I was sitting there like, oh, damn, you could do that. Ooh. So, as you writing a plus size woman, because on the internet there's been this thing about plus size women can't get shit. I ain't never stopped my fupa for getting fucked. Yeah, but it
don't licked, appreciated the way that it deserves.
Right. So, what was your mind frame going in making a plus size woman who really had two men? Well, one a boy, the other one a man, but having them go after her because you made her sexy, you made her a boss bitch. And you gave her options.
Yeah.
So why was that important?
I wanted to kind of highlight the life that actually exists for a lot of women because I feel like the common thread that you seem to find in a lot of plus size novels, and I have my opinions about why it is this way, is that we all feel a certain way about ourselves and we have, very low self-esteem and we kind of settle for whatever we get because we just feel so bad about ourselves. We'll just take whatever you give us. And I don't feel like that is really accurate. Like, sure, if you're like 17 or 18 or 19, maybe that's not because you're not at the point in life where you found yourself, right? And society beats us down so much, especially as Black women, right? It's hard to feel comfortable in your own skin and to feel like you deserve things when society is beating you down and telling you all the things that you're not, right? And so for me, I wanted to make sure that I was giving space and grace to the experiences that a lot of women like us have, right? And that's the thing is like when you're out and about in the world, 9 times out of 10, you see women who are plus size because the average size of a woman is size 16, right? In America. And so, like, it's important that you recognize, like, these women that are walking around, they're not all walking around with their heads hanging low, like, sad about their lives and what they look like. They're out there getting dicked, and as they should be. And I think that it's important to show that because, you know, I feel like frankly, if you don't live in a big body, if you don't understand what it's like, you're not going to be able to write it effectively. And I think there are a lot of authors that are writing plus size romances right now that have never lived in a big body, and it shows.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that because a lot of times it just makes sense. A lot of times people who are not plus size and they write plus size characters, they give them smaller women mentality. If that makes sense. You know,
Absolutely.
They give them the smaller woman style. Because you look, as a plus size woman, it is hard. Even with me wearing a lot of tomboy stuff, I still have to go to the male side of things because they don't have it for plus size women that look good. They have it for smaller women, and it looks great on them.
Yeah.
Like, I be one of those jogging pants, but my ass cheek is not finna fit in that shit. Okay?
I got so much junk in the trunk. Like, stop it, please.
Quit playing. Or the tiny shirts, but they're made for smaller women. And I'm like, not even one nipple is gonna fit in that shit. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Exactly. And that's the thing is they're designing it by just changing the dimensions without accounting for how our bodies are just different than skinnier women. Yeah. And I think that does us a disservice. Like, if you, I don't know, like, for example, I don't know if you had your feed full of, like, was it like costumes.com or some shit? Like, for Halloween, it was, I just kept getting nothing but ads and ads and ads about it. And it was going from like a size small to a 6X. And what I thought was fascinating about the whole thing is, like, if you looked at the model who was wearing the small, she had the cute little bow, and it was like proportionate to like what she was wearing, and like it was sitting in all the right places on her body. But as the sizes got bigger and bigger, it just looked like a fucking tent. And like, yeah, the bow got a little bit bigger, but like everything, it just didn't look right. And I think that's the thing is when you are designing clothes for people who look bigger, you have to account for the fact that I still have a somewhat hourglass shape. Like, I got some meats somewhere over here, but like my titties are bigger, my booty is bigger. Hey, girl, and like you gotta be able to like fit all of that into whatever it is that you're designing. Otherwise, I'm not gonna buy it because if it looks like a box, why am I wasting my money?
Because a lot of the skinnier authors that write plus size girls, they tend to write like we're wearing Lane Bryant. That's what they.
We can see you, yeah.
Huh? Yeah, I can see it.
I was saying.
I'm unhiding your comments because I don't know why TikTok does that. I don't have any words on here that shouldn't be said, but I don't understand. But yeah, they are writing women who look like they wear Lane Bryant for a living, and everybody knows plus size Lane Bryant is not for us. So you also gave
my grandmother, maybe.
Huh?
Sorry, just ignore me. I said for my dead grandmother, maybe.
Just for real,
it's fine.
No, that's so true. It's just stupid. But you also wrote these black men, and you gave us two different sides of a coin. You gave us the one who was a narcissist. One who pretty much wanted to have a woman take care of him, but at the same time didn't want a woman to take care of him and wanted to sit on his ass all day, but complain, and be a hoe ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? And then you had the friend who he just was head over heels over this woman, but thought he was in the friend zone until he wasn't in the friend zone. And she was wrapped in this situation where she thought, you know, you're just my friend. You know what I'm saying? I don't see you like that until he showed that other side of his ass. And then You have the boyfriend slash, I don't even know what the fuck, but you have him who is just like, just go to work and let me play my games and stream and mind my business. You asking for too much. Now, why was it important to show those different dynamics of black men?
Because they exist. I think. Well, the one dynamic that is a little bit more buried is that Curtis comes from a 2-parent household, and the biggest thing that I kind of wanted to show was just because you come from a 2-parent household doesn't mean that you're well adjusted, doesn't mean that you're going to end up being a successful human being. Because Curtis comes from a single parent household. He lost his mother at a really young age, and he was raised by his grandmother, right? And so those are two sides of the coin that I wanted to show too. But I think for the most part, frankly, we all know women who are in these types of situations, right? Who are holding down some bum that's not doing anything for them other than being their comfort blanket, right? And so I kind of wanted to show, like, if this is the wake up call that you need, if you read this and you're like, this is very similar to the situation I'm in, girl, maybe you should rethink that situation. I don't know, because there's more possibilities out there. There's things that you're probably overlooking because you're comfortable with what you have and you're not happy with what you have. And I think that that's kind of the biggest thing that I think we take away from romance, is that we see these relationships that people are fostering together, and they're happy and they're having a good time, and you know, they have their struggles, whether they're like really insane struggles or whether they're like really tame struggles, but struggles all the same, right? All that tension that you normally experience in real life, and experiencing that in the relationship that you have should be paramount, right? Like if you're in a relationship and you guys are sleeping in separate rooms, if he is incapable of holding down a job, if he's not interested in holding down a job, and he has no qualms about you going out and making all the money, paying all the bills, doing everything for him, and he's just like living his best life, doing absolutely nothing, and he's okay with it because you're okay with it. And it's like, there's so many situations. I know grown ass like 70-something-year-olds in these types of relationships, and it's sad. And I think, you know, my hope is that if you recognize that you're in this type of situation, you correct it before you know, get too dependent, or, you know, he gets sick or she gets sick, and you just feel like you're then obligated to take care of this person. Yeah,
because he was a whole ass person. Like, terrible. Just terrible person. That whole ring situation just...
It was a shut-up ring. It was a shut-up ring. It truly was, right? And what's funny is she wasn't even asking for it. He was pressuring himself, telling himself, like, I should be doing something more. And then he was like, let me just give her this so that she feels a little bit appreciated. Like, maybe, you know. And then when she finds out a little bit more about it, she's like, oh, this is not it. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I'm looking for. Like, I'm out. And I think what's also really interesting, too, is when he gets booted out, he's very much so one of those types of people that's easily manipulated, right? He would have never gone out on his own and like suggested that he be on somebody's podcast, because he doesn't have the huevos. He doesn't have the cojones, right?
Right.
But when the podcast guy comes up to him and is like, hey, do you want to be on this podcast? What do you think about this thing? Let me gas you up and have you saying all these things. Like, that to me is like this, like the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Because not only were you a bum in the beginning, now you're letting other people manipulate you and put you into a bad spot, because he knew when he got his ass beat the first time that he should have been fucking around.
Boy, did he get his ass beat.
Like, he peed on himself. Like, that's embarrassing. Are you embarrassed?
On live stream.
You should be embarrassed. But, like, you didn't learn. So I just, you know, and that's, again, like, there's plenty of motherfuckers out there. We know they don't learn.
Yeah.
It takes them a minute. And now you're walking around with 9 fingers. I don't know.
Now, what is it about? You wrote also about that friendship. Like, she had one solid friend, was her down ass bitch friend. and she was riding. She said, "You tell me when we riding, and even
Yep.
if you don't tell me, and I see it's going on, I'm popping off." You know what I'm saying? You know, because I'm like that with my sorority sisters.
Yep.
I pop off quick.
Mhm.
So, what is it about, you know, having that black woman that's in your one solid one that's in your corner so hard that she will go to jail with your ass,
Mhm.
like we riding the dawn? Why was it important that you put that in there?
I feel like female friendships, especially in Black romances, can be hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that there's just so much more to that dynamic than we tend to see sometimes in romances.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I wanted to make sure I highlighted, this has been her person.
Yeah.
Like, and I think I kind of emulated a little bit of the relationship that Christina Yang and Meredith Grey have in Grey's Anatomy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're each other's person. Like all these other men on the sides, like those, they're good, they're nice, but that's not like the ride or die, because y'all can come and go, but this relationship is what really and truly matters. And they've been friends for over 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, having that person that you can rely on, that you can call, right? But also someone who understands the importance of letting you do your own thing. And I think that's the switch and the caveat of it, right? Because as you're entering into this relationship with another human being, you have to understand their intricacies, what makes them tick, how they communicate, what their communication style is, right? And so as you're, connecting with this person, especially if you've been friends with them for like 20 years, like, oh, she's going to blow me off because she's working. Oh, she's going to do this because she's working. But it's not personal. They still have love for you and whatever. And I have a lot of those relationships. I have friends who I talk to every single day. And I have friends I talk to every month. And it's just like, we're still really, like, we pick up like we just left off. And they understand that that's just my communication style. Like if I ignore your texts for a few weeks, it's not personal. I'm probably just like zoned in on whatever it is I'm doing. I'll come back. I'll get there. I'll come back to you. But I just needed that space in order to kind of like get through whatever it is that I'm getting through and like get out of my head before I can like really maintain any type of communication. And I think that that's the type of relationship that Denise and Cleo have. They get closer and then they're okay being apart. But I think that that's kind of like the push and pull of having like a really close friend that you've known for a long time that knows you almost as well as you know yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. I have a friend that I've had for over 30 years, and we just reconnected, and it's just like we never left each other. You know what I'm saying? I have sorority sisters that I'm very close to, more so now than I was when we were together in college. You know what I'm saying? So I have a friend that's in Utah. Am I going to Utah? I don't know. But she moved to Utah. But, we're close. And it's just like those female friendships and I have a male best friend. So those friendships, especially Black friendships, are very good. They're good when they're good and they're bad when they're bad. You know what I'm saying? So I like that you wrote that in there, because a lot of people don't have that friendship or don't know what friendship means. You know what I'm saying? So I really love that. I love that. Now, you went through tempted, addicted, and insatiable. First of all, I love Insatiable because I love Prince song. You saw I had did that thing with but you brought us through different aspects. Where the first two books was more so. Well, the first book was more so them having that one night stand.
Yeah.
The second book was kind of explaining her dynamic with this man. And then the friend zone issue, and then the flip of the switch of not Curtis, but what's his name?
Switch or Hugh?
Who?
Hugh or Switch? When you see Switch, you see who Hugh really is.
Hugh. Okay, that was Tempted, right?
That was in Addicted at the end.
And then Insatiable, you get Switch. But you saw the different dynamics, and you also saw the dynamic of Curtis as falling from fool ass to real dumbass. And
Like no sense of self-preservation whatsoever. Is it in the room with us? No, it's not.
he was so stupid. Like, it was like, leave this girl alone before you find yourself in pieces. Okay? But I like the way you grew the friend zone issue. I love how you grew that. Like, yeah, we had this one night stand, but you still my boy. You know, I can't. You know, I like how you brought out View's other side, his dominant side. Now, you wrote it right. You wrote that. You wrote that right. Now, why was it important to show that even though he is a very nice guy, because you know how they say nice guys finish last, even though he was a nice guy, to show that he had this dominant sexual side, that he wanted to cater to her, but at the same time bring pleasure to her.
I think the important aspect of understanding like why he is who he is understanding that he hasn't had it took him a long time to feel like he was in control after he lost his mom, and he was, you know, helping out his grandmother, and he felt like he was trying to be like the man of the house, but she didn't be the man of the house. She was the man of the house. And so like once he actually got out into the real world and like actually, you know, kind of found his footing and found this job, he realized that he likes being in control. He likes having that sense of controlling everything around him. Yeah. And on top of that, he also finds that he gets pleasure from dominating, whether that is at work, whether that is in relationships. He just likes to be in control. And so for him, he wants someone that when he controls them, they're going to really enjoy it, right? Because he wants to like make sure that there's definitely that reciprocal give and take, right? But for him, a lot of his control, a lot of his pleasure comes from that aspect of control and from ensuring that she's having a good time. And I think for her, she hadn't had a good time in a long time. And so it was just kind of like unleashing the beast for both of them, right? And so I think what I find the most fascinating about him is like, even when he's doing the things that are kind of pushing the envelope and pushing the boundary, he's always checking in with her. He's always, you know, making sure that everything is good. He's always reminding her of what her, what his boundaries are, what her boundaries are, and checking in with her. And simultaneously, also very important, apologizing when he feels like he has crossed those boundaries and saying, I feel like I did X. I am sorry for that. And I think when you have those types of, you know, the word is escaping my brain, but when you play with power dynamics like that in a relationship, I feel like you have to have a very strong bond of communication between you two, because if you don't, it can get out of hand very quickly.
Yeah, I like the power play dynamic, and I like that he also expressed that even though he is the dominant in the situation, she still is in control.
Yes,
I love that, because a lot of times people don't understand there is this thing called permission. You know, it's still, regardless of it's BDSM, soft dom, hard dom, whatever, you still have to get permission.
Yep.
And the person has to feel comfortable. And in the book, she made her feel comfortable, but he also pushed her to embrace her own sexuality, her own happiness. So it is a lot of times in books, whether it's dark, whether it's contemporary, whatever, there is this thing where their characters are only for themselves. You know what I'm saying? And they're not to please. The pleasure is there, but it's not mutual in the sense. It reads off maybe as mutual, but it's not. It's not mutual. This man is just getting his rocks off. You know? So I truly love that you embrace the permission aspect of it, the power play aspect of it, and both of them owning who they are.
Exactly. And I think that that's what's most important too, right? If we're reading books for enjoyment and we're trying to, you know, escape from our lives, I think if we're going to escape, we should escape towards something that kind of helps us see what we're worth in a way, right? And so when you see, you know, them embracing these things that are, you know, BDSM elements, frankly, right? You start to see how there's a lot of communication and there's just a willingness to always make sure that the other person is having a good time, always checking in, always making sure everything is good. And so if you want to try and embrace some of those types of things in your life, I think you have to understand like the communication aspect of it and build that trust with that other person, because frankly, like, you shouldn't be in that type of situation with someone that you can't implicitly trust, because that's when, you know, dangerous things tend to happen.
Yeah. And a lot of times I feel like authors, when they write BDSM elements and BDSM period, they don't do their fucking research. That's how we wind up with 50 Shades of Grey and 365. That's how we wind up with shit like that. And people thinking that is a direct correlation to how BDSM works. And a lot of times people don't understand there's two different types of BDSM. There's black BDSM and there's BDSM. Because what a white person does in BDSM may not correlate with the black person they're with. Because we have generational trauma. So they don't understand that. So I like I said, I love that you did what you did, because permission is a big thing for me. It's just utmost thing. I don't give a fuck what type of book you write. Some type of permission got to be given.
Yeah.
So let's jump into your audiobook. The way Jackie laid that shit down. Jackie had the moans, she had the sexual tension going, she was just, bruh. That book, look here, y'all. That shit was so fucking hot and sexy.
Oh, there she go right there, look.
That shit was sexy. I don't even like audiobooks, but I listen. Look. That had me fucking flustered. I was like, girl.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, what? That's nasty. Ooh.
She took it from here to up here with the moans and the noises and the whew.
Goodness fucking gracious.
Now,
and then she had the nerve to say, oh, well, you wrote it. Like, no, you were saying the things. I just put the words on paper, okay? You brought them to life. I don't know.
Let me tell you. Okay, I'm going to ask you this. How did you pick Jackie for this book, these books in particular?
So, I had originally opened it up. See, look, she in the comments acting a fool. I had originally just kind of like wrote, I took a little snippet and I threw it in, and I'd seen a girl that I liked, and I was like, oh, cool. And I just kind of offered it to her without really listening to the audition audios. And so 2 days later, I listened to the audition audios, and I heard Jackie's, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is it right here. Like, this is it. I don't know what she gonna do, but this is it. And, she submitted her like 15-minute sample, and I gave her some direction, and frankly, she didn't even take it. And I was just like, oh girl, this ain't gonna work. Like, you can't take direction. I don't know. Then I kept in contact with Jackie. She had followed me on like TikTok, and I was messaging her about like possible projects down the line. And then I was like, girl, you still available? You want to do this book? And I was over the moon. I remember I'm telling you, I listened to her audition, and I immediately messaged my friend, and I was like, oh, I found somebody. She's not like, she's not the one I'm going to choose, but I found her. Like, that's my person. Like, that's it right there. And then it just so happened that it happened.
I'm so happy she did. Oh my God. Jackie, you did such an amazing job.
Insane.
It was the, I don't know, the ad-libs, the way your voice dropped at certain parts. It was just everything. It was almost like seeing a movie in my head. Cause she made the sound, Y'all, she made the sound effects.
I feel like sound effects is not even an accurate enough description.
I don't know what the call
It's like, it's literally like watching prawn if you close your eyes. Like, it really truly is. Like, that's the only way to describe it. Like, that's what it is. And so you just like you just listen, you just like, oh, this bitch is having the time of her life right now. Like,
girl, I was like, she is really in it. Oh my God. It was, yeah, Jackie, you did that. You you did that, ma'am. Yo. So where does Ayla go from here? Because you gave us sex on top of sex on top of sex. Now, I honestly, and this is my honest opinion, that is not contemporary romance. That is erotica in the rawest form. I swear to you, that was sexy. I mean, it wasn't a contemporary romance sexy. That was a motherfucking erotica sexy. Mm-hmm. That's why you in the category for the damn boozy book tour shit. But but it was, yeah, erotica with some plot.
Well, I mean, I think for the relationship that Denise and Hugh have, it made sense, right? Because they already have been friends for 4 or 5 years. They know each other really, really well. Mm-hmm. And for them, the only aspect of their relationship that they had never really explored was a physical one. And so I think that was kind of the thing that brought them together and kind of exhibited their closeness. Yeah. And so, frankly, I'm not going to say no, but there's going to be, like, I don't think that there's going to be as much in some of my newer books, right? But I think for me, it was just kind of like exploring these things that I knew that I could do, and like questioning, bringing to myself like all of the things that I am capable of. And so I always thought that was something that I wasn't going to be very good at. And then I started to write it, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. This is great. And then people liked it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But like, for me, as long as I'm having a good time, then I'm having a good time. Like, I love that y'all love it. Like, I love that y'all love it. But if I'm not in here kicking my feet as I'm writing it, if I am not cackling at the top of my lungs, then what's the point of it?
So is the friend gonna get a book?
Yes. So I am thinking that Cleo will have a book sometime next year. I have a couple of projects that I was working on ahead of it, but it's coming up.
Because she's so feisty. She's so fucking feisty. And I just want her to just have the freakiest of the freakiest. For real, because she's so feisty, and she's just like, you can't tell me shit, I'll beat your ass. Like, so I literally, ooh, is this gonna have a poly situation because of the situation?
Likely. I'm still kind of working through it a little bit in my head, but that is the direction that I am headed.
I mean, you did draw that chart with how many dicks can go in a hole.
You know what? You say that, and now I gotta show people. Hold on. Where's that?
Yeah, she drew a chart to...
I did, look.
Of how many people...
See, and it pissed the girls off now. If you would like, I can explain it in great detail.
So, I want to know what it. I don't know why it keeps filtering these comments. Y'all not even saying shit, and there's people that be saying fuck shit. They be putting them through. But
you gonna have me pull out my whiteboard.
I just feel like as an author with 3 books, you made such a big impact As far as when it comes to representation for plus size women, representation for dominant men, black men, and also showing the bad side of relationships and friendships. It all was in all three of these books. Now that you have written this and you have just confirmed that she gonna get a book, she gonna get a book. What is the next move for you? Is there a genre that you're gonna tackle that you have not tackled yet?
Well,
Uh-oh.
I am currently in the middle of a dark romance Christmas novella that is coming out on the 23rd. And so that's a little bit of a departure. And like, I felt like it was more of a departure. And then I was like writing it and I'm like, oh, this is good. Like, this is nice. It's gross, but I like it.
What you mean it's gross? I'm scared.
You should be a little bit scared. I think that's fair.
I keep telling y'all gotta baby steps with my ass. Baby steps. God, cause I'm not gonna read it, but y'all gonna have me do live reactions again where I'm sweating and shit because of these dark romances, because I like a hood romance, but something about dark romance be making me just like, and it's crazy because I'm a dom, so you would think this is cool with me. But,
well, I think it's like leaning into all of the things, like we all have our moral barometer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of us think that some things are a little bit cooler than others, and some people think that some things are a little bit more acceptable than others. Like, I remember, so I'm from LA. Anybody else from LA? Hi. And a couple of years ago, there was a ex-police officer that had been done wrong by like a judge and like the police chief, and dude went on like a rampage and was just murdering motherfuckers, unaliving motherfuckers left and right. Yeah. And everybody was like, it was like one of those things where people were terrified and they were like, oh, I don't know if I should go outside. And I was just like, well, I mean, what they do to deserve it? I'm just, you don't just go, you don't go. It's, in particular, Black people don't just go and commit crazy violence like that for no reason, statistically, right? Mm. And for him to have also been an ex-police officer, like, you had to have done something crazy to mess with that man's moral barometer to the point where he was like, I'm gonna take you out and I'm gonna take out some of your kids too. That's crazy. But again, it's just like, instead of being terrified and being like, oh my God, like, why is this happening? I wanted to know what the hell they did to this man, push it to this point, because you broke his brain. Like, I need to know why he feels like this is the path forward, because I guarantee you tried a bunch of different paths before this one. And so, like, for me, I was just like, that's interesting. I need to know more about that, because maybe it's growing up watching so much Batman and, gargoyles and all of these things.
We were just talking about that yesterday, gargoyles. Goliath.
You know what? And don't even get me started on that movie. What is it? Law Abiding Citizen? It bothers me because that movie made sense until the very end. And the only reason, I don't know if you guys know this, the only reason that they changed the ending of the movie is because it didn't test well with whoever they decided to test with. But as someone from LA, I can guarantee you they didn't test with the right people. Because I have been in films before. I have been in preview films before where I watched fucking Jumanji and half of the graphics weren't even in the film yet. And we were all sitting there and it was me and a couple of Black friends. They didn't ask any of us to do any of like the quizzes afterwards. I watched them walk around. Every person they talked to was Caucasian. And it's just like, you got The Rock in this movie. You got Kevin Hart in this movie. And you ain't asking no Negroes what their opinions are in this movie. That's a choice. Okay. But again, it's just like, if you had tested Law Abiding Citizen with the people that were actually going to really resonate and enjoy this movie, we would have told you that the end that you had planned was ideal, because he won. Like, he won at the end. And all of a sudden he dies at the end because it didn't test well. Anyways, I'm not even gonna get on my soapbox about it, but I already did. It doesn't matter. But yeah, like, I think that, as human beings, we're always drawn to try and understand certain types of things. And some of us are trying to understand why humans behave in the way that they do. And so for me, I wanted to understand, like, if someone starts like brutally unaliving people, right? How can this make sense? Like, how can we make this something that's more about justice than it is about just like brutality, right? And so the book is essentially about two morally gray people who kind of find each other in the fray. And so she's a con artist and she's grifting him because she knows who he is. She knows a little bit about him, but she doesn't know him. Like, she doesn't know his background, what he does. She knows what she could find on the internet, right? And he runs a security company, but he also does some crazy shit at night. And so when she like finally falls for him, she starts to realize this motherfucker's crazy. And she's like, oh, well, I'm gonna go. So she bounces. And then that's the beginning of the book. And then we start 2 years later, and she has to ask him for help, essentially. And so she starts to understand why he does what he does, what drives him. And it's really fascinating. I'm blending in a little bit of mythology. It's set in London. Well, it's set in Britain. So you get a lot of Britishisms. I probably will edit some of them out because I feel like it might be a little bit too much at this point. But it's fun. Like, it's reminding me of all the things that I really love to do, which is, a little bit of unhinged over here, a little bit of crazy over here. There's a little bit of jokes and like a little bit of fun, but it's also kind of blending in mythology, and you like get a firmer understanding of Ma'at, which is Egyptian. And so like, I'm having a time. I'm having a time.
This sounds like it's gonna be good as shit.
I hope so.
Here goes Shannon talking about some hunching.
Absolutely. It's me.
It's me. Okay. So, as a Black author, how is it, especially in the indie world, how is it for you and the dynamic of, people will say, it's too much sex. It's just too much sex. It's not enough plot. But they don't say that for your white counterparts who write more raunchy shit. How does that feel when you hear something like that?
At first it was kind of annoying, but now I'm kind of at the point where I'm just like, well, don't fucking read it. I don't know. Don't read it. You don't have to read it. You know what is great about the internet is you can just cut it off. You could just be like, I don't want to watch that no more. And it's gone. You don't have to worry about it. It's great. It's fantastic. And so for me, if you're reading a book and you're not enjoying it, it's okay to put it down. Like, it's okay to just like, I don't like this. I think that's fine. Nobody's going to judge you. Nobody even has to know unless you say so. And I think, like, for me, there's just this weird like glorification of DNFs and like trying to start arguments where they're not necessarily necessary. And so when you're looking at, these books that have these tropes that you don't necessarily like, for example, I don't know if this is on your list of things to talk about, but one of the things I get a lot is questions about Denise and Hugh cheating. Right? Like, how dare they cheat? How dare they do these things? Like, how dare you do this and that and the other? And it's just like, well, it's okay not to read it. If you don't want to read it and get the complexity and understanding of why she was in that situation and how she got out of it and why it all happened, it's okay.
It's more to the, and this is one of my pet peeves. People will try and put things in boxes that don't belong there.
Yeah.
But you and Denise's situation was totally different from an actual cheating trope. It was circumstances around it that it was not a cheating trope. Regardless of her being in the relationship with this no good ass nigga.
Yep.
This was not a cheating trope. If anything, it was friends to lovers.
Yep.
It was not cheating. I have read some cheating tropes and I'm like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? I just read a book where a nigga was sleeping with two females. Trying to juggle two females. That's a cheating trope.
Yep.
This was not a cheating. This was friends to lovers.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people don't understand tropes and just throw them out there without actually. This is why I say reading is fundamental. If you don't read the story and understand it, you're going to just say any fucking thing.
Truth.
It makes me so annoyed.
Yep.
And that goes back to, like, you know how I do my reviews. I literally break that shit down from point A, point B, because there's so many different things going on with that plot. You can't just give it just one particular trope.
Yeah.
And there's situations that make it not a certain trope.
Mm-hmm.
But people just want to see the bad in a book, especially a black book. People just want to see the absolute worst in a black book. And it's not white people that's doing it. It's our own people.
Yep. We're harder on ourselves than we are on other people. And frankly, there is plenty of black TikTokers who don't even read white books because they don't even read black books because they say they're too ghetto. But then they'll go and read some crazy ass mafia stuff about some man like unaliving one person, sleeping with her mama, like that's urban romance with Caucasians. I'm sorry.
I just want to stress, back in the 80s, I know I'm showing my age, but back in the 80s and in the 90s, when I used to look at the books that my mother had, they were Danielle Steele, there were Jackie Collins. You know what I'm saying? Besides having Maya Angelou and James Baldwin, her romance books, they were those. They did not have mafia books back then. Mafia books didn't come about until street lit and urban fiction became a fucking thing.
Yep.
When they saw people in the writing about urban settings and situations, they was like, oh, let's write this mafia book. They weren't writing about Goodfellas and motherfucking The Godfather and all that shit. They were not writing about that stuff until street lit and urban fiction became popular in the black community. It's the same thing with hip hop. It didn't become popular until black people started loving on it. You know what I'm saying? So
they enjoy something. They just got to take it.
So when I see black women or black men say, I do not read urban fiction books because they're too hood. Mind you, some of them is living in the hood. It boggles my mind. Like, y'all say y'all on here to talk about black books, black experiences, but you like, nah, that's too hood for me. Why you a whole gangster disciple? Why you a whole Crip blood? You know what I'm saying? Why you a whole Blackstone?
Like the girl, what was that? I saw it the other day. The girl that was saying that she didn't like books that was calling women bitches and hoes and saying nigga, and I'm just like, oh, that's a choice, but okay.
But you listening to Sexy Red and her lip gloss that's named after gonorrhea. Come on, be fucking for real.
And she's like, yeah, I say the words, but like, I don't want to read it. Ah, girl, are you okay? Do you need assistance?
I literally am. It boggles my mind. No matter how much I say I'm not interested in the video, they still show me these fucking videos on TikTok. There's always some black person saying, well, I'm finding it. I'm finding it. Oh, God. It's always some black person on here that is saying the same parrot shit that a white person says. It's about escapism. Baby, we can't escape shit. We black. So fiction is
black. I don't know what to tell you.
So fiction is realism, regardless of how you look at every little bit. Because even in your book, you're discussing a black relationship and the ins and out. So you mean to tell me every black relationship is, oh, we walking in the sunshine and daisies and shit? I don't get it. I don't get it. Even in fantasy, you will read, what's the name of that goddamn lady? Court of whatever the fuck. Y'all will read court books and then knock down a fantasy book from a black person and say, oh, that's too much political. What?
Did you read Hunger Games?
Girl. Yeah, that chick. Her. Girl, don't get me started, because the way I be wanting to cuss out some people and get in their comments, but I know I can't.
I can't do it either. Trust me. I'll be sitting there like, ooh, think of your brand.
Right? Yo. But you know it's crazy, because you as a black author cannot say as much because your brand. Yep. And the fact that they'll come at you harder than they will come at a white author boggles my fucking mind. So you have to toe the line where they can cross the motherfucking Nile River.
Mm-hmm. Not the FMC and her 50-year-old uncle. We ain't talking about that right now, Olivia. We ain't going there.
What?
There was a book that I had seen, and she like slept with her 50-year-old uncle, and it was just too much for me. I got pregnant by him. I was just like, what is this?
What uncle?
It was her husband's uncle. So it wasn't like that bad, but it was still bad. Just like, it's icky. Or goddaddy, stepdaddy. Like, that's just not my vibe. Like, that's not my vibe.
I don't do that.
That's not my ministry. It's somebody's. It's not mine.
I was just talking yesterday, and I'm not going to say this author's name, but I was just talking about, there's a black author. She is black. She's a biracial author who writes books that makes black women basically look like they're in servitude. And
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Somebody was like, oh, read this book. And I read one book, and I had said I will never read this author again, because every aspect of it, you can't have a KKK member. And
it was nice for you to read one of them, because I wouldn't touch one of them motherfuckers with a 10-foot pole.
I didn't know. I wish somebody would have had told me.
No, I'll say it.
Shannon, no. We got a brand.
Shit. But I know exactly what you mean. And like the cover, it's just, that's the vibe. Like, it's intentional. It is very much so intentional. Like, it's not like a happenstance or an accident. It's the covers. It is the choice of the words that she's using. It is everything about the plot and the pacing. And every time I see it, I'm just like, this blows my absolute noggin clean off.
It really does. We found out, me and Shannon, let's just say me and Shannon, well, me, I think Shannon already knew, but we found out a little too late, so something happened, and yeah.
You know, and I get that it's fantasy, and I get that some people may want to read that, but then I question who's actually reading it. Like, is it us? Yeah. Are we the ones reading it, or is this a Quan Mill situation where it's other people reading it, you know?
I read it.
Not on my way to Master's house.
I got halfway through it, and the slavery aspect of it was so prevalent, even though it wasn't any slavery in it. You know what I'm saying? So I just, because the cover was the shit that the cover did not look like what was in the book. Okay. I was this is why I don't look at covers sometimes, because the cover did not look like that, like what was written. And what was written was basically a black woman slave to a KKK member for tuition. It was just, oh my God. And this is written by a black woman. And this also makes me upset because I read IR. So, you know, IR authors get it so bad because they're like, oh, you got white men and blah, 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 blah. But then you have people like that. When you have actual IR, because can you write? Yep. Writes for the black woman, the plus size black woman.
Yep.
Theodore Taylor, Teresa M. Clark, Dari McCoy, all of them write for the pleasure of a black woman, the happy. then you have this goofy ass broad writing this type of dynamic, and it just
And it's just, it's disappointing from my personal perspective. Like, art is art. If that's the art that you want to write and you want to get down with that, that's totally fine. From my perspective, it's not something that I enjoy. It's not something I want to write, and it's not something that I want to read, frankly. But it's just, it's hard because I question, like, what's the motivation? What's there to gain from telling this particular story? Right. And it's not a story of revenge. It's a story of trying to get these people who have this privilege and who have this hatred to see people of color as human beings. And to me, I shouldn't have to be your slave in order for you to see me as a human. So I just don't really, it doesn't gel with me. It doesn't mesh with me, but I get that that's some people's kink, and you know, that's a whole other thing. But I think it's not for me. And I think that it's fair for people to say, like, this is not what I want to read. And it's fair for you to say before people even get into the book that that's what that's going to be.
Yeah, I just wish somebody would have told me, because even the synopsis is not like that.
Yeah.
So I don't like when, and as an author, how do you feel about some authors not truly putting what the actual substance of their book on their synopsis? Because me, I am a synopsis reader. So I will go on Amazon and read the synopsis thoroughly. And to make it even clearer, I went back and read her synopsis for that book. And it didn't match up with what was in that book. It was a totally different story. The synopsis made it seem like it was a love story. Like it was a contemporary love story. And then how do you feel as an author when you hear readers say, this is the reason why I don't read X, Y, and Z, because I feel like I was fooled. I was bamboozled.
I think that's why it's really important for when you are creating, you know, any marketing materials, that you're giving your story the respect that it deserves, and you're also respecting the times of the people who are reading it, right? And so for the longest time, for example, I was leaning very heavily against not mentioning the cheating at all, because I didn't think that it was important to the story, frankly. And so there were so many people who kept talking about the cheating that I was like, okay, maybe I need to include the word cheating somewhere when I'm doing some of the marketing for this book, so that people understand that that's what they might see at the very beginning, but that's not what the story is about, right? And so it's like, it's trying to get your book off on the best foot that you could possibly get it on. Because, like, if you think about it, like, the synopsis and any of the marketing materials is going to be the first impression of your book. And so as you're creating all of these things, you have to make sure that it's everything that you would expect your readers to want to know before they go into it, without really spoiling the intention of the book, right? And so if you are creating a synopsis and it's not accurate, or frankly, it's like super vague, or it's like very like floofy, it defeats the whole purpose of creating a synopsis. You might as well just not have one. And so, you know, I think it's totally fair for you to feel bamboozled and for you to feel cheated, because, like, at the end of the day, you thought you were getting one story and you got something totally different. And that's on her. That's not on you, right? As a reader, you were just opening your eyes to whatever this art was. She just didn't do a good job of giving you everything that you needed before you went into it. And that's not even like saying like trigger warnings or whatever, but like, you got to be clear about what this book is about. Like, if this chick is like in financial servitude to this man who is spewing hateful rhetoric, if I came into that book blind, I'd be pissed. Like, I'd be
I
would be really upset. Like, why do you have a pointed hood in your closet? That's crazy. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Now, as a indie author, how's it for you when it comes to sales, marketing, and just making sure that you put your best foot forward to get it out there? Because social media is thicky. You know what I'm saying? You have your ups, you have your downs, you have your virals, you have your nothings. You know what I'm saying? So how is it for you as an indie author going in and saying, okay, I'm finna market this way, and you'll see, thank y'all, you'll see maybe you got 100 views, 50 views, 40 views, 200 views, and you how do you keep yourself going?
I think Olivia has a very good like metric for when you got like low views on a video that kind of helps me push myself forward, right? And it's just like, even if it's 100 people, 150 people, 250 people, that's 250 people that weren't looking at your stuff yesterday or weren't looking at your stuff like 3 or 4 hours ago. And I think that's kind of the best way to really think about it, because frankly, like, it's kind of, you're just doing your best with what you have, right? And like, marketing is exhausting. I tend to go into a little hidey hole when I'm writing, and my marketing suffers because of it. But like, we can't literally do everything. Like, all of this is a full-time job. I've been a marketer before. Like, I kind of understand what I need to do. I need to like curtail it to like Booktalk, but like, I understand how marketing works, and that was a full-time job for me. And so not only is marketing a full-time job, writing is a full-time job. I do most of my own editing by myself with the help of a couple of really nice readers. And then like, it's just, there's so much that goes into it, and it's really hard to find a really good balance. And like, as we start to like get into like a better place, we'll be able to have someone edit this, or we'll be able to hire someone who can help with marketing, or we'll have someone who can pull hooks and we can just create social media from those hooks. Like, all of that stuff comes with time, but I feel like you just have that space where you have to struggle for a little bit, so you can then justify the cost of spending on all these other things. Because I feel like, and this was something that I talked about on Threads, but I feel like there is a very I don't want to say drastic misunderstanding of how much money we make, but like, for example, like, all my books were in KU. Or Tempted, the read-through of Tempted netted me 34 cents. A read-through of Insatiable netted me like 80 cents, I think, 70 or 80 cents. And then a read-through of Insatiable was a dollar, like 25, right? That's not a lot.
No.
And we spent hundreds, thousands of hours writing these books, doing all of these things, doing all this marketing, running around like chickens with our heads cut off, trying to do everything and nothing at once, right? And that's the reward, is that, we're getting that amount of money, but we're also getting, messages from readers, and we're seeing ratings, and we're seeing reviews. And that's the stuff that kind of like fills our souls. Like, it's not necessarily the money, because the money is not that great, but like the actual connections that we find with our readers, I find is what's really like paying me, frankly. The money itself, like, I'm not really in it for the money. I do hope that one day that it'll sustain me, which sustaining me in California is hilarious, because I live in the Bay. So
I used to live in San Diego.
Oh, San Diego's so fucking expensive.
Yeah, it is. I used to live in Fallbrook, wine country.
Oh, I was in San Clemente for 5 years.
Yeah, I was in Fallbrook. I was a Marine, so.
Oh yeah. You were down in Pendleton. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it that you want for readers? No, let me backtrack, because if you're new to this, my questions are literally up here. I don't write it down. It just come out during the conversation. But let me backtrack. How is it for you as an indie author, having so many indie editors, indie PR companies, indie PAs coming about through the readers who've read books from you indie authors, and y'all inspired us to do like podcasting, PAs, PR, all that stuff, events. So how is it for you as an indie author to see this come into fruition, and how do you want us to better help you?
I think it's exciting, right? And like that goes back to what I was saying at the very, very beginning. You know, like I've already had my midlife crisis. Like I know that this is the path that I want to take for the foreseeable future. I know that this is feeding my soul and I'm getting some gratification from this that I wasn't getting from my life before. And so I love the idea that like that really painful moment for me, that stressful, that crazy time for me has led to me moving forward, but also encouraging other people and showing them, like giving them the tools and the tips that they need to kind of like, oh, maybe I could try this thing. Maybe I would. And like that, boy, I'm not gonna cry. It really genuinely makes me so happy because I feel like it's so like living life is hard enough. We have to sell our time in order to really and truly like succeed and survive, right? And it's so hard. It's so hard to see the love that you can have for life when you're so worried about making ends meet. And so when you get to that space when you can kind of separate the two and be like, okay, I can do this stuff. And like, I'm tired, but I'm going to take like a little bit of time here. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I am going to spend an hour just like plotting away on the keyboard. I'm going to spend an hour like crocheting, finding something that like really truly brings me joy. I think that's where that's where you find like the kernels of life, right? Like your work shit is just work. Like you're just making rich people richer. You're just forcing yourself to like be a cog in the machine of capitalism. But when you're actually actively finding these things that bring you joy, like true, actual joy, not like, oh, this gives me money and this gives me a serotonin hit, but like something you're doing, but that just like makes you feel good. That's what really, truly matters. Like that's what life is all about. And so when I hear people say, well, you encouraged me to do this, or, you know, you've given me like some kind of like roadmap as to what I think I can do in life. Like that to me is so fucking dope because I went through something really hard and I came out on the end a much more well-rounded individual. And if you can get to that more well-rounded individual without having to go through all that crazy fucking shit that I did, I am so pumped. Like I am so fucking excited because that's my, like most people, like some of y'all have seen me before, but like that makes me so fucking happy. And so as people go off and like start to do these things and create their own little businesses, right, and hopefully, you know, turn them into big businesses and do all this crazy stuff, I think that the biggest thing you kind of have to hopefully keep in mind is that, you know, we're all still new to this, right? We're new to this and true to this. And so I think the biggest thing that you have to keep in mind is if you're going to be working with indie authors, if you're going to be working with people who are making 30 cents when people read their book in KU, just keep in mind that, you know, we may not have as much as far as marketing budget goes. And I think in addition to that, there's so many scammers that are in our inboxes on a daily fucking basis, asking us to pay for reviews, asking us to send them.
Say that one more time.
Asking us to pay them for reviews, asking us to send them free stuff, asking us for, you know, something that we couldn't even justify seeing the results of. So there was this one chick, this was probably like 4 or 5 months ago. She inboxed me and she's like, oh, I would love to read your books. If you want to send me a free copy, you can mail it to like X address, right? And I was just like, out of curiosity, because I like go through my spam email all the time, right? And I click on it and I was like, do. She had 200 followers. I am like, ma'am, you are asking me to not only pay shipping and handling for this box, the actual box itself, the actual things that I use to wrap this, like you can't see it. I got a whole little section of my house dedicated to all this shipping stuff now. And you're asking for me to give you all of that for free so that you can talk about this book to your 200 followers. Actually, be for real. Be absolutely for real. Like, I wish I had your amount of audacity. Like, I wish I was as delusional as you are, because, baby, I would be everywhere.
Um.
But like, that's that. But I say that to say, like, this is the environment that you are in when you're reaching out to indie authors. So if you are going to reach out to us, please be respectful. Please don't be an asshole. And, also just be conscious of the amount that we make when you set your rates. And I think that's the bigger one, because if you're asking for $400 for something, baby, you ain't gonna get it. Like, I got nothing for you. My pockets is empty. I got nothing for you. But I had another guy. This was a good one. I sent this one to Olivia the second I got it, because I was like, "Is this her life?" I was on Facebook, and this guy messaged me. It was right after Insatiable came out, and he was just like, "Oh, I do graphics and whatever, blah blah blah. This is some of my work." I looked at his work. It was trash, right? And I'm like, "Okay, I'll keep you in mind if anything comes up," right? Because I'm not an asshole. And he just goes, "Oh, why? Fuck you mean why? What do you mean? Bruh, what do you mean? I just released a book. What do you mean? Well, I can do this and I can do this. I just think it's not fair." Well, I don't know you. You've never spoken to me a day in your life, and now you're in my inbox demanding that I give you money. It's the audacity is real, and it is prevalent. And I think one of the biggest things that indie authors definitely need to keep in mind is that if that person is in your inbox, it is very, I even say like 80% to 90% of the time, they are grifters. They are scammers. They are not looking to do anything for you. You are going to waste your money giving them money. Reach out to people that you connect with on a daily basis. If you want an editor, reach out to Tylee. If you want someone to help you with your marketing stuff, reach out to Etched, right? Like, reach out to people that you see on a daily basis, interacting with authors, being kind, and actually like vibing for us. Because I think that that's what's really and truly important, right? Like, this fool that you don't know from Joe, like, he's not gonna do nothing for you. And then you look at his work and it looks like a kindergartner drew it. Like, please.
I've been sitting here trying to find my words this whole fucking time, because I feel like my head is about to explode. Like, this is something.
It's just one small thing. I can understand if you out there scamming like Walmart, or like you doing what you're doing, like, just to get a little change from Target. But like, I'm a human. Like, I write books. Like, I'm just over here trying to survive, just like everybody else. And like, you're trying to scam me? What do you mean? I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not a $1 billion corporation, my guy. I make 34 cents when you read a copy of my book. Like, I don't know what you want me to say.
Okay. Lord Jesus, I ain't smoked enough. I am, you know how you have activists here on TikTok, right? That you have activists that is for different causes around the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am an activist for the indie world. That's my goal.
You are, absolutely.
That is my goal. So when I hear these stories of y'all saying how people are out here trying to scam y'all, and that just leads me to believe that people do not care about Black authors.
They sure don't.
People do not care about POC authors, Black authors as a whole. Because the shit they be trying to pull with y'all is not the same shit they do with the white authors. It's very respectable to them. It's never disrespectful. And the people that come at them are people who are really trying to help them or really have legitimate businesses. So when I hear you guys, because you're not the first person to say that, but it annoys the fuck out of me because I'm not telling nobody not to get their coin. What I am saying is a book review is a fucking choice.
Yep.
That is your choice to review the fucking book. That is your choice to pick that goddamn book up and say, I'm going to do a fucking review.
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear an author, especially an indie author, especially a black indie author, tell me that one of you cocksucking bastards has said, hey, pay me to read your book that you picked up. Oh, and by the way, send it to me. What the fuck? Absolutely boggles my fucking mind. There are too many, and I'm TikTok is just a place that drowns out a lot of black voices.
That is fact. What's interesting though is they drown out black voices, but we're the ones who are the entertainers for this entire app. Like exactly. I don't know how many times like I've seen a viral video and it's been black folks. It hasn't been Caucasians. Right? And so it's like you love to laugh at us, you love to be entertained by us, but you have no respect for our artistic process. Exactly. You have no respect for our time and for, compensating us fairly. Because I mean, we're still trailing behind every dollar that you earn, especially like just corporate America as a whole, but just in general, right? And so it's just like you expect us to be your entertainers to keep you, to keep you fat and happy. But at the same time, it's just like when it comes to like treating us with respect, you got none. There's just none there.
But it's also, and I say this for my own people, y'all be trying to make relationships with these authors and really don't be having relationships with these authors. Y'all be trying to get free shit.
Facts.
Y'all don't have, and I'm going to say that again. Y'all be trying to have relationships with these indie authors, but really don't have relationships with these indie authors and be trying to get free shit. There is not an author that has known me that I said, send me your book. Hey, could you do an ARC read for me? Okay, send me the book. But I prefer ebook because I don't need the fucking book because anybody that knows me, I want your book from your hand. Signed. Yes, there are some authors that will give me a book, but I prefer, give me the book from your hand, signed at your event so I can pay you this money. You know what I'm saying? I don't need you to send me a book. That's the being authentically about indie authors means really being authentically about indie authors. You can make yourself a business, right? In the indie world, you can make yourself a business. That don't mean you got to take out of other people's pocket. Definitely. You can be a PA, but you ain't got to take out of nobody's pocket selfishly. Do it because you have a love for the literary arts, for indie authors, for black indie authors, especially if you're focused on black authors. Because these white motherfuckers, no offense to any white person here, but these white motherfuckers will get here and be PAs to black authors because some black people that are PAs are assholes and they're always looking for the dime and the clout. Then you have y'all asking to pay for reviews. I don't give a fuck if it's a traditionally published author, and I mean minus a black person, because there are traditionally published black authors who don't make shit.
Facts.
They don't make shit as black traditionally published authors. Just because you're traditional don't mean shit. You still can make less than your white counterparts. I will charge a white traditionally published author a motherfucking house in a minute. But a black traditionally published author, I would not. You know why? Because they're not paying them shit neither. Y'all, it's like, it just behooves me and bewilders me, bamboozles every goddamn bee in the book that y'all will sit here and ask people for free stuff knowing that they are just in the same situation as you. That's just, I've heard lately that there are podcasters asking for money for you to come on their show. On TikTok, that's free? That's free? Please. When you got myself booked and busy doing podcasts for fucking free because we truly enjoy indie works of art.
Yep.
That shit boggles my fucking mind. Then y'all charging for reviews. Who in their right mind charges for reviews if you're not traditional? Who? And also, shit is not free for these authors to send us books. They have to pay Amazon or wherever they get them from to get the goddamn books. Then they got to pay the postage to send it to our asses. And then you motherfuckers get the books and don't even read the books. Please. Give me... Girl, let me get off myself because I'm... If y'all want somebody to do some shit like if that's the case, go be with the crying bitch. Be with the crying bitch. You want a black person? Go be with the crying bitch that thinks she white. All right? This black Booktalk street is not for you. It's just not for you.
And that's the thing is, like, I don't know who just said it. I think it may have been Tylee. She said, if you're not passionate, don't come over here. And I think that's really, truly what it is, right? Like, I think what's blown my mind the most this past year, because it's been a little bit more than a year, right? Is how unequivocally passionate people are over here. Like, how much people ride or die for us. And it's so mind blowing. It truly is. Like, and I still, like, it's been a year and I still can't fucking wrap my head around it. I truly can't. Like, for example, I was having some issues with Ingram Spark. They were doing some kind of weird shit. They never even explained why they were doing what they were doing, but whatever.
All right.
And I was like, hey, I put it as friends only. And I was like, hey, anybody like, have you ever had this happen to you before? Like, I'm very curious. And everybody was like, we ride at dawn. What do we need to do? What's going on? I'm like, you guys, I'm just asking a question. Like, I love it. It's very overwhelming. Like, I'm so glad that you guys got my back, but I just need a little bit of understanding about this thing that's going on right now. But it was so nuts to me that people were like, yo, like, we will, like, who do we need to talk to? Who do we need to email? Like, we got you. And I'm like, oh my God, me? You guys like my books that much? You guys like me that much? It's so like, I don't even have the words. Like, insane, crazy, bonkers. Like, none of that encompasses how it feels for me. And I still haven't found a word, because whenever I think about it, I'm just like, this isn't my life. Like, this isn't my life. I just wanted to write books to buy a Subway sandwich. And, like, now I have all these people asking me all these questions and talking about, like, all the things that my books mean to them, and, like, and asking me about, like, why I had, this situation with, like, police violence in there, or, like, why she made the choice to, like, embrace her sexuality on the roof. Like, all of these things. And it's just like it's crazy, because all this stuff lives in your head for so long, and then you put it on paper, and then everybody else gets to enjoy it, and they start to pull it apart and ask you questions you hadn't even considered before. And it's just like, whoa, like, this is an impactful thing that I'm doing, and, like, people love it, and people are rabid for it, and it's just like, wow, that's fucking crazy.
It's to me, I just feel like, in Booked and Busy, she is a amazing podcaster, and she is so involved in the indie world. And like she said, there should be a union for you guys, you know what I'm saying, that represents y'all, to make sure y'all don't have to deal with that shit. And the same thing with Black content creators that are in the indie world, you know what I'm saying, not just marketing, not just PR, but, us banding together to help each other get jobs or opportunities and shit like Absolutely. That. Oh, this is something I can't do, but I know this person who can do it. You know what I'm saying? It's people like Lady Creole, who's making lists so you can match the influencer with the author type of writing. So if you want someone to read your book, you know this person actually reads those type of books.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of people. You have Tylee who's doing editing and stuff like that, and you know she's full time doing this. You have Brandy, this etch. She's making visuals. I mean visuals for y'all asses. You know what I'm saying? You have events like you got Esther Vaughn, she got her stuff in Miami. You have ours, the Boozy Book Tour. You have the Black Readers Romance Festival. You have K. Renee Jam Awards. You have so many things out there, but they're so spaced out, and you hear a lot of people say, I didn't know about this, or I didn't know about this. And it would be good to have it in one solid spot, you know, where we can help each other. But the downside of that, there's always one that can fuck up and unravel shit as quick as it gets started. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of black book clubs out here that people don't even fucking know about that. There's black book clubs that only read urban fiction. There's black book clubs that only read black authors. Black book clubs that only read IR. That read only literature like James Baldwin, Toni Morrison, stuff like that. But you don't know because the negativity weighs out and drowns out everything.
Facts.
And it's a lot of people that get online that just want to talk shit about other people. You know,
but that's the thing is like, I think it kind of falls on us as well too, right? Because if the only things that we're really interacting with is all that crazy ass shenanigans, then that's what the algorithm's going to push. And so I've talked about, me and Olivia talk about this all the time, right? So you've got, you know, the educated Negro, right? Who's only ever coming on here to educate people, to tell you all about things. They speak like newspaper reporters or like just news anchors. That's what I was looking for. You have the overly emotional Black people who are either crying, they're screaming, they're angry. Every single time they get on here, there's something nuts happening on that's going on. You have the ones who are the entertainers, right? The skits that are just like over the top, crazy, ridiculous, right? But like if you don't fall into those camps, the chances of you going viral are a lot lower. Like you have to play into the things that people expect from someone who looks like you. And that is like the true way to like get the clicks and to go viral, right? Yeah. For example, I've had two-ish, I'll just say one. I have one viral video, right? And it is me reacting to a character in Star Trek The Next Generation being incredibly fucking rude to Data. And if you don't know Star Trek, Data is an android, and he has like a childlike wonder for everything. So her being a bitch to him, saying, "Oh, you'll never understand what it's like to be human. You don't know anything about being human." That's punching down to like the extreme, because he's like the sweetest marshmallow on the face of the planet. So I was like, I would drag this bitch. Like I will fuck her up, right? And of course, that's a video that blows up. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, I love this. Like, please do more Star Trek stuff." But I love Star Trek, and watching it is, you know, a very interesting experience for me, especially as someone who's Black. But that's a whole other podcast. But I think that the biggest thing that I learned from that experience was that I can do like the humor and like punched up like craziness, like me to, you know, 1,000%. But like, that's not necessarily what I want to do every time I get on the internet. And the reason why I don't want to do that is because, frankly, I have to be a different version of myself when I go to work every single day, right? When I go and interact with corporate America, I have to be a different, more tame, but also still the personality version of myself when I'm at work. And so this is my experience and my time to be myself. Right? To embrace these parts of my personality that I wasn't really given a chance to because I was so focused on work. I wasn't really hanging out with anybody. I wasn't doing anything else. I was just working. Right? And so that became my personality, and it started to feel really fake. And so now I'm at this point where I'm like, okay, I can be that fake version of myself for 8 hours a day. But when I'm done, close the computer, don't talk to me. I ain't got nothing to say to you because I'm over here living my best life. And that's the thing is like, I don't want to have to push myself to become some different version of myself just so that I could exist on here and be popular. I'd rather be myself, find my people in an organic way, and then hopefully things go in the direction that they're supposed to go in. But what I'm really not going to do is sit here and like play with people's emotions and frankly like pretend to be some crazy fucking person. That's not my vibe.
I've learned doing all these videos and podcasting and stuff. I've had 2 videos this year to go viral, and one was me cussing out Kiera for her Queen of Booktalk shit. That went viral because y'all tend to like me cussing out folks. But then the other one was Granger's book, or Desiree, her book for Maggie Gray. It went viral. But I prefer for my literary stuff to go viral than y'all liking me to cuss out folks.
Yeah.
And same with my podcast. Last year it was Derek, who's gonna come back this next month, but I think it was because he's pretty. And so that was a big thing. But then, I had A.A. Lewis on here with a whole bunch of authors, and that was big. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had over 200 people on the live at that time. So and I just want to stress to everyone, just because you have 10,000 followers or higher does not mean that you're getting paid. It does not mean that you're going to go viral all the time. It does not mean anything. The only good part about if you're a podcaster on TikTok and you have 10,000 followers and you're doing indie reviews and stuff like that, authors they can have 100 followers. We can pull them up and they can visually be on camera. That's the only plus side to that. Once you reach past 10,000, you can pull authors up who don't have a big following on TikTok. That's it. I don't make no more money because I went past 10,000. That shit don't mean shit.
And I think it's like the chances of like 1,000 people or a couple of hundred people seeing your stuff is still going to be the same. Like it's not going to change just because you have a lot of people that follow you. Like I've looked at accounts that have like millions of people following them. And this is hilariously enough someone else who also slid my inbox. And I'm like, you don't even have people looking at your videos. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? But again, like, it's not what you think it is. And I think that it's just kind of like, the biggest thing is to give people grace. And I think it's easy to make assumptions about like what people's capabilities are and what like things are for them and that in that time frame. But I think someone gave me this advice, and that person, well, it might even know that person, but they were like, I always assume that things are coming from a place of ignorance and not a place of malice. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. Like that makes so much sense. Like people aren't going out of their way to be mean. They just don't know. Or they may know, but they don't know, And so I think that's the best way to really think and interact with people. Like if you stop assuming that they're coming from like a place of like anger or they're just trying to like shit all over you, I think you just have like a better quality of life, frankly. Yeah. And like, I just don't have it in me to sit here and like raise my blood pressure over some bullshit. I just I don't have it. And so like as I like have these interactions, I just think this person's a little slow, a little silly. What can I do to get them up to speed? How can I give them a little boost so they can stop running behind the train and like jump on the train? Like what can I do to help them? And then I also have conversations with myself about not helping them and letting them fucking run behind that train because obviously they ain't caught up now. They ain't gonna catch up. So it's just kind of like prioritizing yourself and how you're entering into these types of situations. But I think simultaneously understanding the playing field that you're on, understanding the people that you're talking to, and like coming correct.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Not push them on the track.
I think us as readers, we have, once we put ourselves in this reading space, we have a responsibility, especially when we say that we're here to help Black authors. People will say that, but their actions don't correlate with what they're saying. And it's like, the one thing I stress is, if you're going to be about it, be about it. You know what I'm saying? Do that shit. And so with Black authors, y'all have it hard. Y'all have it so much harder. The election made it even harder. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of how you voted, regardless of how you feel, at the end of the day, we just started having reading rights not that long ago. It's not been that long ago. The civil rights was in the 60s. We are in 2024. You do the math. Yeah. So it's literally, as a Black reader who says that I am for Black authors, a PR person who has a Black company for Black indie authors, editor that does Black books, you have to do justice and do your due diligence. Because as a reader, and you saying that you're in this book space, you have to push the envelope harder. Because as you said, when you are writing, you are not marketing. Yep. When you are working and typing out your books, you're not reading another book. You're working on your book. Exactly. So if we as readers are not pushing y'all books, who is seeing them? You know what I'm saying? It is nothing against an author working, because that's what we want. That's what we want, because we want those books. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we have to, if we're going to say that we are a part of the Black book space, I don't give a damn if it's a Black author that writes urban fiction, contemporary, IR, paranormal, historical. If we are going to push Black authors, push Black authors. I do understand that some people have a thing about, I don't want to read IR because I don't want to see a Black woman or Black man with a white person or somebody else. I just want Black love. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is when it becomes a problem. When you constantly put down people who read what they read, as long as they're supporting a Black author, because guess what? A Black author wrote the fucking book. Yep. When you go out your way to make people feel bad, they don't want to get on this internet and talk about books. Exactly. So this is why what Booked and Busy said, Nicole, what she said is so important. Unionizing, coming together, and trying to push the Black author. That is the whole fucking point. I remember a time when y'all jumped on that one creator, in which I love her. Y'all jumped on her because she said that the book cover looked like a club flyer. Y'all didn't take the time out to understand that she's only read white authors. So she was coming over like, oh, there is Black books. And she started reading Demon's Dream. And she was so excited. And y'all ate her the fuck up to the point she had not wanting to read the Black books anymore. Y'all couldn't teach her. Y'all disrespected her. Y'all fucking put her down, because not every Black person is a fucking monolith. Yeah. And y'all put her down so bad she didn't want to read anymore. You know what I'm saying? So you took away from that indie author that could have had a new reader.
And I think what's really important about that too is, like, to go back to, the marketing aspect of it. There's been a lot of conversation around AI. And I think what a lot of people are missing about the context of that situation is that it is immensely harder for us to find images for our covers, to find artists that actually know how to accurately draw people of color. And it's more expensive and it's more time consuming. So if I can, plug a couple of things into AI, pull out an image and use that for a book cover, that saves me so much time, so much energy, so much money, right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of these stock photo websites, it is so incredibly fucking hard to find any images of Black people whatsoever. And if you do find them, they're fucking garbage. Like, they're like, for example, one of the websites that I use is Pexels, right? If you go right now to Pexels and you enter in Black plus size woman, it is going to be the same Black plus size woman that did a photo shoot, and she is working out. She is running around in the park. She is trying to get fit. Like, that's it. That's her. That's it. And so, like, if authors turn to AI, don't assume that they're just taking the easy way out. They've been there already. They've done the research. They understand the playing field. And they're like, you know what? I would rather throw a couple of dollars at whatever AI resource that I use to create this image so that I can then keep fucking doing what I need to do. They are also overused. I agree. But I think, you know, if we're all...
she was saying the old ones are overused.
Oh, yeah. They are. And that's... So a lot of people ask me, or I shouldn't say a lot of people ask me, a few people have asked me, why is Hugh bald? You want to know why he was bald? Because that was the only stock image photo that I liked that I could find. I had him as the cover of my book, and I decided to not use him. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with like something basic, some object, right? Because then I don't have to worry about matching my description of my character to this guy. So I kept him bald, but I changed him up a little bit. 2 or 3 weeks later, after I published my book, another person came out with a book, and it was the fucking guy that I was going to put on the cover of mine. And I spent 3.5 hours, I think not even 3.5 hours. Like, I spent a very long time going through and finding this man. And she went through the same exact process. She spent hours and hours to find this man, and she put him on her cover. And we would have had the same motherfucker on the same cover. And like, there's plenty of characters on covers right now that are across different covers. And that's the thing is, like, if AI gives us the opportunity to put people on the cover that not only reflect the people that are in the book, but also, you know, look a little bit more interesting, and they don't, like, if they tell you a little bit more about the story, then what's wrong with that? Like, if it's not for you, great. It's not your fucking book. You don't have to worry about it. But like, I think that there's a time and a place for it, and I think that it's vastly overstated how easy it is to not use it.
Yeah. I just want people to think outside the box, right? Mm-hmm. White authors have models, right?
Absolutely.
They have models that they use as their characters, and they can hire somebody who's been a photographer who's took pictures of 1,000 male or female white models, and so their covers never look the same, or they use the same models and nobody complains or bats an eye.
Yep.
Us Black people, POCs, when we use the same covers, there is a whole dissertation of arguments on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, Y, and Z to say these covers look the same. We as a people need to learn how to stick together wholeheartedly, not part-time, not for clicks and likes, not for to get the last word so you can have these conversations that are very asinine. We need to push Black authors, Black events, Black podcasters, Black PR companies, Black annotation kit companies, Black libraries, Black bookstores to the forefront instead of worrying about bullshit that don't concern us. There is a lot of Black bookstores that are going out of business because nobody is buying from them. They even went as far as putting their books online so you can buy them. And yet you're still going to Barnes and Nobles and asking, why the fuck they don't have Black books in here? Fuck them. Okay? You have PR companies that are literally white that has tons of white authors and tons of ARC readers and beta readers and stuff like that. But when it comes to us having PR companies you don't hear about it because y'all worrying about getting with the PR company that has the biggest following.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And they may not understand you. I mean, like, for example, right? What the hell's, it's been so long since I've even watched any of their shit. Shits and giggles. Shits and gigs. I got a point. I got a point. So they did that podcast, right? Mm-hmm. Which was like disgraced or whatever the fuck it was, right? And so they said all the things that they said about Black women. Mm-hmm. The problem is that they didn't have a Black person on their team to just sit there and just listen, right? And it didn't even have to be a Black American woman. It just had to be a Black woman, right? Mm-hmm. That is not coming from this like layer of misogyny. Right. And the reason why that clip was able to air is because they didn't have someone who was Black on their team that was working on their PR that could have said, hey, probably want to pull that one out, bro. I don't know if that's going to work. Yeah. Right. And so like imagine how much money they have lost since that whole thing happened. And they lost all that money because their PR company was not equipped to understand the needs of not only their culture, but Black American culture as a whole. Right. And so the problem is that if you don't do your due diligence to surround yourself by people who look like you, who understand you, who can read things from your perspective, you're going to look fucking stupid. You're going to say something that's stupid. Something's going to happen and you're just going to fuck yourself. Right. And so it's just like, do yourself a service, right? Like you're sitting here trying to like chase after all of these people. Like, for example, like if you were to go on like Query Tracker and you're like, I want to pick the person that's got like the most. I want to pick the person that's like repping all these crazy people. I want to do this and this and this. Is that person really speaking to your experience? Are they going to be able to authentically provide you feedback on your book, on your story, on the world that you're trying to build? Or are they going to turn you into some cookie cutter version of whatever the fuck else is out there? And that's the thing is like, if you continue to go, with the status quo, that's what's going to happen. You have to find people who are outside of the box, like you said, who can give you all the tools and tips and tricks that you need in order to make your story the best version of itself, not make it look like everything else.
I feel like this year has been a good year for me as a reader, reading Black stories. It really has. From Ladarian Williams to Terry J. Benton Walker to Granger with her HBCU. It has been a really good year. Even with urban fiction, it's just been a great fucking year. Nice. I have been asking for Black paranormal more, and I've been getting it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, right now, I think the complaints that are coming from outside the house, because it ain't coming from inside, it's coming from outside of the house, are those who still hang on Booktalk. Not Black Booktalk, but Booktalk. And they're coming in with their commentaries of what Black really is, and really they don't even know what Black really is, and they're Black.
Black people are not a fucking monolith, and the fact that we treat it as such is so incredibly bothersome. Like, our experiences are not going to be the same. Like, I grew up, like, I'm gonna steal Denise's term, hood adjacent, right? Like, I grew up surrounded by Crips because I'm from Long Beach, right? And so like every kid in the neighborhood was in a gang except for like a couple of us, right? And we just all kind of coexisted. We did our own thing. Like, there was a bank down the street that used to get robbed all the time, and so we'd be in the park, they'd lock the doors and it'd be like, oh, it's just a normal day, right? Like, that's my experience. And that's not the same experience that someone who, grew up in like New York is going to have. It's not the same experience that somebody in Beverly Hills is going to have. I say even Baldwin Hills is going to have, right? And that's what's so great about the human experience, is that all of us have all of these different things going on around us, and we're impacted by all of that shit in totally different ways. And so when I'm writing my characters, whether they're, middle class, upper middle class, whatever, lower class, like that's not necessarily everybody's experience. That's just my experience of interacting with people.
Yeah.
And I think what's fascinating is a certain subset of the Black experience is what often finds itself on shelves.
Mm.
It's either like hilariously bad hood romances, like Juan knows, or like something that could easily be white fiction if it wanted to be, right? Like it's not necessarily like, that's not all encompassing of the Black experience. If you pick that book up, you're not going to be like, oh, I understand Negroes now. Like, no, right? Like our experiences are all vastly different, and all of us could watch something and have a totally different understanding and experience with that event. And I think that that's what makes us so uniquely human. And so to me, like, it makes no sense that we are relegated to like one or two different types of experiences, and then you go on these shows and it's just like nothing but Caucasians, and it's all these different types of experiences, or frankly Caucasians that are writing people of color. And so it's just kind of like,
but it's also, and people be like, oh, I want to be the next Kennedy Ryan. You got to understand, Kennedy Ryan is still not getting the acknowledgement in Barnes and Nobles and Books a Million that she should be getting. You see that she is coming out with this film and stuff like that, but she still is fighting to get that representation in these bookstores. You know what I'm saying? It's not that easy. You know what I'm saying? The color makes a difference.
It really does. And like, this is not necessarily book related, but I always talk about like, one day I want to be Shonda Rhimes, right? Pipe dream. My pipe dream. Shonda Rhimes had this relationship with ABC. I mean, some of you might already know this, please. So bear with me. But she had this relationship with ABC. She, you know, owned Thursday night television. Like, she was pulling numbers, baby. She was making so much fucking money for ABC. She was getting Disney so much money, right? This woman was working 20-hour days. She had an adopted daughter. She had a daughter that she had in vitro. And she has a nanny, right, that helps her take care of the kids. And that's all important because, you know, she doesn't have time to spend with her kids because she's working to the bone. Like, she's just working, bitch. She's working. And her sister comes to town. Her sister, who she lived in the basement of when she first was going to UCLA to get her MFA. USC. UCLA. One of the two. Some LA school, right? And her sister comes and she's just like, oh, you know, take the kids to Disneyland. And so Shonda's like, all right, cool, bet. I'm going to like reach out to the people at Disney and I'm gonna get you guys some tickets. Cool. So she reaches out to Disney and she's like, can I get like 3 tickets so that the girls can go to Disneyland, right? Shonda Rhimes has made Disney $1 billion at this point. Like, stupid amount of money. They haven't paid her $1 billion, obviously. But like, I digress. So, they said, we can only give you 2 tickets. And she's like, okay, but I have 2 kids. And what about, you know, my sister? And they're like, well, we have a rule against giving more than 2 tickets. And she's just like, well, I mean, I can't go with them. If I could go with them, then you wouldn't have to pay for the ticket because she had like an annual pass or some shit. And so, they give her a hard time. And they're like, okay, fine. Just like, she'll be there, right? She'll be allowed to get in, right? The sister pulls up to Disneyland and they didn't let her in. And she had to buy her own ticket. And that was the moment where Shonda was like, you know what? I'm sitting here working my ass off, like working to the bone, like literally working 20-hour days, barely getting any sleep, having all these trade-offs of like, I'm not going to go to this kid's recital because I want to be here for this actor's last day. Or I want to do this instead of doing this. Like, everything is about compromise, right? Especially when you're a parent. And so she was just like, you know what? Fuck this. You know what she did? She fucking took her ass to Netflix, took $1 billion deal, makes far more money, doesn't work anywhere near as much, and she gets to actually enjoy time with her kids now. And all because some fool at Disney was like, nah, I can't give you this $100 ticket. And at the time, that's crazy to me. Like, this person has made you $1 billion and you can't give them $100 ticket to Disneyland. That's absolutely fucking crazy to me. Do you think that they would have treated like Robert Downey Jr. like that? Do you
fuck
think that
no.
they would have treated any of some white actors? Because that's the thing, is like Shonda Rhimes elevated herself to the point where she is like Hollywood royalty at this point. And so it's just like, if she had been white, if she had been a man, would you have treated her like that? Absolutely fucking not. And that's the thing, is she was like, you know what? Straw that broke the camel's back. I'm out.
But see, and that's why I say, that's why things like Jaleesa's I can't remember the name of the website. It's called Take Me There, Been There, Take Me There, which showcases all black events. You have Rowdy Gunshire Film Productions. They're trying to do indie black movies, web series, scripted podcasts for black authors. You know what I'm saying? You have it's just so many. It's just it just aggravates me. It just aggravates me so much. And you have so many activists on here that it's for black literature. Pick and choose your fucking poison. You have some that are just for black love, some that's for all black authors, some that is for POCs. But it's here. But the thing about it is, we get treated like shit. Black indie authors get treated like shit.
Absolutely.
Black content creators that are in the indie world get treated like shit. You have to placate to the masses to only get seen. And when we don't do that, we become enemy number one.
Which is crazy, because when we don't placate to the masses, we're the ones that are trend setting, and eventually motherfuckers start following the trend that we started.
You have a content creator on here named Randy. Randy had said something about Capri and the Zoo Boys, and somebody took it upon themselves to take her content and put it on a fucking t-shirt without her permission and sell it as gear. Sell it as merchandise. That's the shit we deal with on a fucking daily. That's the shit we deal. Same with black authors. Y'all come up with these stories as indie authors, and then some white author takes it and put white people on it and make millions. Yep. So,
and then you look at us like we crazy when you got a Molotov coming through your window.
And for the 18 people that's on here, all I'm saying is, if we don't come together, if we're going to support indie authors, if we're going to support black indie authors, let's do that without tearing down the next motherfucker. Because if you don't like IR, that's your prerogative. But keep in mind, that's still a black author writing that IR. If you don't like urban fiction because that's not your life and you want escapism, then don't read urban fiction. If you don't like black fantasy, then don't read black fantasy. You don't have to make videos. You don't have to tweet, thread, Instagram, Facebook, go in a Facebook fucking group and talk mess. You don't have to do none of that. Because the whole objective, the bigger picture here, is to get our people in a place where we don't have to be starving. Point blank. I know you see Kennedy Ryan, and I just said she is still fighting to get her shit where it's supposed to be at. Right next to these white authors. But y'all are sitting here, well, Kennedy Ryan, she's still fighting. She's still fighting. You know what I'm saying? Just like all the black indie authors are still fighting. All the black content creators that are in the literary world is still fighting. That shit takes a toll on people. So sometimes they give up. Yeah. Or sometimes they don't even put the content in anymore because they like, every time I say something, somebody's about to do a click like fucking viral cuss me out video. Because a lot of black people don't know everybody else's experience. This goes back to what I said about old girl that said something about Demon's Dreams cover looking like a club cover. if that black person, just hear me out, y'all, because some of y'all on here, I know for sure you made videos about her. Hear me out. If a black person was raised in an area where she does not know, but she's seen club flyers, because everybody goes to the fucking club. If she's seen club flyers that look like that, and she did not say it out of malice, and because she did not understand the dynamic of that culture, instead of reaching out and, hey, DMing her, hey, that was wrong. That was, you made videos and disrespected her and had that girl suicidal. But you don't want to take fault for that. You just wanted to prove your fucking point. See, that's the shit I be talking about. When you say shit to people, you don't know how the fuck they're going to react to shit. That is a very sweet person. And y'all had her suicidal over that shit. And I know some of y'all be like, oh, that's so stupid. Why would you? It don't matter. It don't matter. You have to reach out and teach one. Because ain't nobody else going to do it for us. So, therefore, if you're going to be about teaching our culture to us, be about it. Don't be no raggedy bitch like the bitches that out here trying to already take from us. Teach. DM is a thing.
Or shut the fuck up.
That part. That
I get the gut reaction. I get that sometimes we be hot when we see stuff. But like, it's okay to just not say nothing. It's cool. It's cool to close the book. It's cool to be like, you know what? I didn't like that much. Oh well. Like, people, I think, jump on the clout chase so aggressively because they want their own viral moment and they don't care who they're stepping on their way to getting that viral moment. Yeah. And I think it's crazy to me that we as a whole tend to forget that the people that we're connecting with on this app are human fucking beings. Like, of course there's some bots on here and there. Yeah. But like, we all have feelings. We all have emotions. We all have experiences that may not necessarily mirror yours. And that's the beauty of being a fucking human being. But like, when you come on here and you say some like wild ass shit to humans, like, it's, of course, you can't control how people are going to react to it. And like, of course, we can control how we can react to stuff sometimes. But like, when you're getting bombarded with that kind of like negativity and like anger and vitriol, like, of course it's going to have some kind of impact on your mental health. Like, are you crazy? Like, of course
exactly. It is. Because not every motherfucker is like me, because I'll cuss your monkey ass out and think nothing of it. I don't give no fuck. What you gonna do, whoop my ass? Doubt it. But it's not everybody's like that. You know what I'm saying? Some people take that shit to heart, especially somebody who's trying to get in the community that is black. You know what I'm saying? I was with her a long time ago. I known her for a while because we started out reading J.R. Ward books.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? So she came over here like, oh my God, I just saw your video about blah, blah, blah. I'm finna start reading. I didn't know. So she started heavily reading black books. And she came across Demon's Dreams. And y'all ate her ass up. To the point she had to take a break from the internet. She was suicidal. And it was y'all fault. It was y'all fault. Because that's how the internet works. You know that, right? So you got to be conscious of what you fucking saying. Now, I understand there's some bitches on here that deserve the vitriol. It's some motherfuckers on here that deserve that shit.
A lot more than others.
But you can't do that to everybody. It's not necessary. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be bullying motherfuckers on the internet and be pussies in the real life. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just saying.
Uh-oh.
I'm dead ass. Like, y'all be bullying people on the internet and be pussy as hell in real life. Because you feel like the internet's the place that you can bully people and come off on top. But you bullying your own fucking people. That's some hoe ass shit. I don't like that shit. I bully your ass. I'm trying to be zen my zen phase, but if I see you bullying somebody, I'm gonna bully your ass. So you can get your own medicine. Like, and once again, I said, what you gonna do? Whoop my ass? Good luck with that. Good luck.
Yeah, I think it's just, just be conscious of how you're entering into a situation, and if what you're saying is actively necessary, and like how can you approach the situation from a place of like kindness, because it's easy to be an asshole. It's easy to give in to your base emotions when you have those immediate reactions to stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time that comes from a place of like not being able to frankly comprehend and process the emotions that you're dealing with. If you're lashing out in like all of these different ways instead of like talking to a friend and being like, oh man, like this is crazy. Did you see this? Well, of course, I'm like, what the fuck? But again, I digress, right? But it's like you have that moment, you talk it through, and then you process it, and you're like, oh, well, it's probably coming from X, Y, and Z, or you just get over it and you just keep it pushing. Like, I feel like it's just because the internet is actively in our hands 24/7 and it's easy to upload a video doesn't necessarily mean that you got to.
Yeah. So,
maybe, from the perspective of millennials, like we had dial-up, so we know,
Yeah, AOLs. We had party rooms and stuff like that.
Well, not party rooms.
But I just, and I'm not going to keep you on here any longer, but I just want to say this to y'all. If it's a Black author, support them. I don't care if they write IR and you don't read it. They're still a Black author. They need your support. If they write urban fiction, they need your support. If they write erotica, they need your support. They are Black authors across the board. Downing these authors in these genres only makes you look like a fool. And actually makes us look like a fool. Because they never say one person did it. They always say it's the whole did it. Mm-hmm. If we are going to support content creators that are in the Black book space, we need to support Black book creators in the book space. You know what I'm saying? There is a book talker for everyone. You know what I'm saying? And I also want to stress this right here. I know narrators, because I saw RL come here. Hey, RL. Narrators have it hard, right? Mm-hmm. There's AI voices now. Now, I know we talked about AI covers. This is totally different. Y'all are taking from their pockets when you use AI voices. Narrators are not as expensive as you think.
They really are not.
But now using an AI voice is lazy. That's lazy. If you can't do an audiobook at the time, just don't do it. Yeah. You can come back to it when you're able to.
And you don't have, I think it's a misnomer that you have to pay out of pocket for an audio narrator. Also, right? There are many different options that you can have if you're connecting with a narrator through ACX. You can pay half your royalties to them. You can, set up some kind of like installment fee where every time you get paid, they get paid in the beginning. Like there's a lot of different options. You don't just assume that it's expensive and just not even try. And I think, if you as an author are interacting and you have, all of this art that you're creating, don't you want somebody else who has that same, that same intensity, that same personality, that same vibe to understand, to really comprehend the work that you're doing and to pour something into it? Because let's be fucking for real. Like no AI narrator is going to be able to do what Jackie does.
Hell no.
In a discussion, that's it. Right? And so like you're cheating yourself and you're cheating your readers out of an experience by taking the easy way when there's so many other options that you can have, as long as you just have to open up your mouth and ask. Yeah. And I think, as writers, I understand that this is a very solitary profession. And a lot of the time we're in a room by ourselves talking to ourselves. But I think part of what you have to do is you have to learn how to ask questions and learn how to say, this is what's in my capability. Is that something that you can do? You have to learn to negotiate. You have to learn how to have and be a member of a team, right? Because like at the end of it, like art is not necessarily a solitary thing. It's got to be enjoyed and experienced by everybody. And when you are using AI narrators, that's totally different, right? And I think also I want to say too, like if you are an artist, if you are a graphic artist, if you would love to create covers for Black books, reach out to us and say, you know, this is my portfolio. This is what I'm, you know, am capable of. Let me know if you need services, or interact with our posts on social media and become friends with us. Because frankly, like I would much prefer to interact with an actual graphic artist than to use AI. But the thing is that if I reach out to a graphic artist and they tell me, oh, I can do that cover for $600, $600 where? I ain't got nothing. My pockets is empty. But that's the thing is, like, again, if you're going to be interacting with us, like, understand, like, where we are at in our journeys and, you know, meet us in the middle. Because if I could tell you, like, I got like $100 and maybe I can give you like another 100 after the book reaches X amount of sales or whatever, right? But that's the thing is you have to have those kinds of conversations. And you're running a business at the end of it. Like, that's what this is. This is a business. And you have to, like, have those difficult conversations and, like, you know, be interested in preserving the art that you have. And if you use AI for right now, because that's all you really do genuinely have the means for, I get it. I understand it. But simultaneously, like, if you're using it to cut corners and you make, you know, $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000 a month or whatever the fuck it is, like, that's kind of shitty. So it's just kind of like finding the balance and finding where on your moral barometer you want to lie. Like, if you don't give a fuck about anybody else, you know, like, that's your soul, not mine. But like, I'm all about the art of it, and I will never go out of my way to cut out an artist if I don't have to.
Yeah. And as far as the comment about the editing book covers being super expensive, well, as far as editing, I know that you have people like Tylee. Let's take Tylee for instance. Tylee has a actual plan where you can pay like half up front and then come back with the rest. Or she has a payment plan that you can pay. There are actual editors that are on Black Booktalk that will fucking work with you. The ones that want these large amounts up front are usually probably not even going to do good by your books. Yeah. It'd probably be the same manuscript that you turned into them with like a little tiny correction on it and then give it back to you. But she has a plan and step by step, and she has tiers. But see, that's about actually being on Black Booktalk and looking, because there are people on here that do that. There are narrators that do that. You can follow the hashtag Human Voices Only and find a narrator. And you don't, I mean, if you don't want to go to ACX, you can literally find them here. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of voice actors, narrators that are literally on here every fucking day. And they're in their booths, they're doing voiceover work or whatever, but they're here. You know what I'm saying? Book covers. You have people who are like Akira. You have
really commas.
You have what's her name? Lady Couture, whatever. You have so many people that make book covers and they're not expensive. They're already pre-made. And they are here. They literally are on TikTok and on Facebook and on Instagram. You have, like, if you are an author that wants to be interviewed, and I'm going to say this right now, closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't fucking DM a person, they might look over you. And you be like, damn, I ain't even getting no interview. Closed mouths don't get fed. You have PR companies that are owned by Black women who literally will market your shit. There are a few on here. You have marketing companies, just straight marketing. They're all on here. You just got to do your due diligence. There are indie publishing houses that are on here. They're small publishing houses, but they're indie publishing houses. And they're always saying our submissions are open.
Yep.
They even have contests like you can write a certain amount, a little novella, and see if you are fit for them. But they're here. You got Masterpiece, you got S. Siobhan, you got who else is on? K. Renee, Tina J. It's so many. But you just got to do your due diligence. So that's when I hear videos say, I don't know, I can't find anything. What you mean? Be Loved. What you mean you can't find anything? Like,
I'm looking.
right.
And that's always boggles my mind. Because I'm like, when I see stuff like that, where are the Black authors? Like, we've been here. Where are you? Like,
Right.
I'm not gonna sit here and play that game with you and interact on your post so that you can get, some kind of boost to your shit. Like, if you are looking for Black authors, just use the hashtags, my guy. Like, what do you mean? Where's everyone at? Like, we've been here. Where have you? Are you obviously aren't looking because you ain't found us yet?
And then a lot of people ask like, "Oh, I want to have Black Stuff Your Kindle days." A. Lewis just came in here. She had the whole Bray event.
Sure did.
400 I have over 160 something books that I downloaded. There is a place for everyone. Oh, I want Black author merch. You know how many people doing merch on this fucking app? Oh, I want an indie bookstore online. Shannon literally has a literary DFW that is an online bookstore for Black authors and others, but I'm only going to talk about the Black authors. But you know what I'm saying? You have it. It's there. Y'all just keep going to the Barnes and Nobles and Books a Million and say, fuck these indie authors.
And I think it's hard because you see the way that certain areas of Booktalk can act and how everything is kind of like segmented and it works for them, right? But it doesn't work that way for us. Mm-hmm. And you can't necessarily look at them as the blueprint for how things are going to work over here. Right. And I think that that's the biggest thing. So I have like a poster here that says, we achieve more when we chase the dream, not the competition. And I think, at the end of the day, you have to do what makes you happy and what feeds your soul and what gives you like joy, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can look at all the other shit that everybody else is doing and be like, damn, man, I wish that was me. I wish that I was making that kind of money. I wish that I could do this and I wish that I could do that. But what you don't see is the drawbacks, right? You see this nameless, faceless author with all these like crazy fucking books and she's making $100,000 a month. Don't nobody know she's Black. You see all of these white women flocking to these books about all this crazy stuff, and then you read it, you're just like, yo, like this isn't like dark romance. He's just abusive. But that's the thing is like, if that's not your vibe, if that's not what you're writing, if that's not like the energy you want to put out into the universe, then that's not necessarily the lane that you need to be comparing yourself to. Like your lane is your own. Like as long as you're doing the things that bring you joy, that's the lane for you. And I think, it's so hard because you see all of these people with all of these, with making all this money and, doing all these things. But you have to remember too, that doesn't mean that those motherfuckers are happy. Just because they got money doesn't mean that they didn't have to make all these compromises that makes them sad. And so it's just kind of like, are you happy doing what you're doing? Or are you sad because you're not making money? Because money, it's not, as long as that's not the goal, then, as long as you're having a good time, that's what's important. If money is the goal, then maybe you do want to make, concessions and do all that crazy ass shit, eventually you'll get to that point. But is that what you really want?
I tell this story a lot with Kenny Wright because she's one of my favorite authors. Mm-hmm. She came on and I talked to her on the podcast and she told me she had just got out the military. She just got divorced. She had 3 little kids. She was on food stamps and she was living with her mother that was on drugs.
Wow.
She was writing books and nothing was popping off. She was barely making it. It took her 6 books to make $10,000. And then from there, it just kept going up and up to the point that she's now a 6-figure making author. Indie. She is not signed to anyone. She is an indie author and she makes 6 figures and now she can travel the fucking world with her kids and be a no-man author. But the thing about it is people don't see the journey in which she got there. They just see that, oh, she's traveling the world. She had to go through a whole lot of shit to get to where she's at. Same with Kennedy Ryan. You know what I'm saying? She had to go through a lot of shit to get where she's at. And they're still, both of them, Kennedy is traditional and Kenya is indie. Both of them are still trying to get their books in places that won't see them. Mm-hmm. And Kenya is an IR author. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, we got to come together. That's the problem. I think that's the biggest issue. There's too much divide.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much division. There's a group of people for everybody.
Yep, facts. Facts.
You can't down one group because you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Speak on the group that you know and stay in your lane. We too busy crossing over lanes and they ain't got shit to do with us.
Yeah.
Once again, Black people are not a monolith.
Yep.
So, with that being said, I need you to tell the people the book tours you're going to be on, how they can get your books, and your website and Facebook group if you got one.
I will be at the Boozy Book Tour in Tulsa in February. And then I will be at the Black Romance Book Fest in Atlanta in July. And then I believe I will be at the Boozy Book Tour in Chicago in October. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And then I will also be at the Boozy Book Tour in Vegas in 2026, which y'all gonna have to like put like a little chain on my wrist so you can yank me away from the craps table, because boy, I have a problem. I got a problem. That's why I don't fuck around in Vegas. But I was like, ooh, Vegas. This is my art. So yeah, those are the events that I have planned for next year. There is an event in the Bay Area for next year that I haven't heard about just yet, but that should be really fun. Hopefully if that happens. And you can find my books on my website. You can find them here on TikTok. And they are at all of the places you can find paperbacks. And 2 of them are on Audible. The 3rd is coming soon. It's being worked on right now. Bay Area where? It's in San Jose. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I can make